Here we go, beginning of day one. Excited? All right, we found the river. Just gotta follow the river for the next 4 days. About half a mile in and gonna be getting our feet wet because there's no other way around. Look at this beautiful guy. So it looks like we've hit the Paria Narrows, which means we are at mile 4. Down in Whoville. It's like the muddy desert version of Whoville. It's super cool, super narrow. I'm not falling, it's just sticky. Such cool little caverns. It's pretty impressive. That's amazing. I hear the echo. We made it to the confluence. There we go. That's Buckskin Gulch. So we're taking a little stroll up into Buckskin Gulch. So you can see what this is looking like. Less water than Paria Canyon, which I'm kind of surprised at the moment. Heading in here to the gulch a little bit. It's definitely narrower and taller than the canyon that we just hiked. At this point, at least, there's also a lot less water, and the water is moving much less quickly, which makes sense why there would be cesspools in here since the water's not moving very fast. For it to cool and quiet in here. Oh, and this is so muddy. To Paria Canyon now. Nobody stole our stuff, so yay, thank you. And we've got 2 more miles to go to our first proposed campsite. So I think we found a spring. I don't think this is the big spring because the big spring should be another 2 miles from here. So this is probably an unreliable spring. Let's go find out if there's any water. There is absolutely water dripping down in here. We are setting up camp here for the first night across from the spring. How's that water coming?
We'll be here a while.
Good morning. This is the start of day 2. We just filled up on some water at this little seep here just in case we have any problems finding the big spring later on, so that way we won't be totally desperate for the rest of the day.
We will not roll, sprain, or break anything.
This sounds like a good plan. Just a few turns around the bend and it looks like we might have found another spring.
There's pools.
There's pools of water?
They're small.
Go ahead and say something, just so you can hear it. I can hear you so perfectly.
I love you, Sarah.
Like whisper. See if I can hear it. Whisper.
Shh. I can't hear you. At all.
That's so funny. You can see it from here. There's the big spring. Despite all of this green here, none of this is really dripping the way the last spring was. There's a little under there, but that would take forever to fill something up. So what we did, all of this is dripping into this pool here. You can see where we just put our water bottle in because it's actually very, very clean. And look, this is water that came out of there. We're still gonna put our purification tablets in it, but that was far more effective to just pick it up out of that pool than to wait here, drip, drip, drip at a time to try to fill up our water bottle. So here we found another spring. Maybe this is the big spring? I'm not quite sure. My tracker says we've gone 2.5 miles since our campsite. And look at that, I mean, that's really flowing. That is definitely the big spring. No doubt about it. Whole bunch of little birds in here. Okay, because yeah, that looks pretty, like I'm gonna lose a shoe. It's all marshy now. Playing around with the wind. All the seeds coming off of these trees. It's pretty magical. Walking up high above the river. There's really not a lot of shade, and honestly, it's not that fun. And more of this. Only now there's some bugs, since the water is more stagnant and not moving as fast. So here's what looks like another spring. We found one in that section back there also. I don't know how strongly they're running, but these are some of the unreliable springs that don't run year round. Here we are at mile 19, and here's our camp for the night on this little island that the river does a bend around. Good morning, day 3. We've packed up our gear and broken camp and we're about to head out. We both have very little water at this point, but there's a spring in 3 miles. So we just have to be careful that we don't miss it. Otherwise, we're gonna end up drinking out of the river, which we have our filtration straws and our purification tablets, so should be okay, but not the most ideal. Morning, little cactus. It's a whole cactus garden. Stuff now. Walking through the bushes up above the river. Trails becoming increasingly like this. You try not to get hit in the face. We found the spring! This one was a little less obvious to see. I heard the water coming down, almost like a little mini waterfall, and that's how we found it. So come down there. I know this all looks the same. The spring is actually hidden over here. Oh, poor thing. It's almost kind of like the beginning a little bit. Huge amount of sand way up there. Yeah, I'm not sure about walking through the middle of that. It's definitely a spring. It's just too soon. We should go another mile. Look at how long he is. Do all the push-ups. show that snake who's boss. Where'd the lizard go?
Snake can't find him. The lizard took off. The lizard, I don't know.
We're really lucky that it's overcast today. If not, this would be really hot and really brutal because there's no shade around at all. So we have found the campground at Buckskin Canyon, which means that we missed the last reliable spring, which means that my mileage counter was off. So if you're looking for the last reliable spring, it's pretty much where we stopped for lunch, which I know that's not very helpful to most people, but it was on the other side of the river behind a rock. We saw another group of people stopping there and saw that it was a spring, but didn't realize that it was the last reliable spring because we thought we still had another half-mile to go before getting to it. But good news is that means we only have 1.5 miles until we're setting up camp. Yay! Yeah, really unique coloring. So we've made it here to mile 28, which is our campsite for the night. Come to find out when we were unpacking that I drank all of my water, 2 liters of water in the past 6 miles. And it's not even that hot out. So Sean's concerned that I might have heat stroke or a dehydration or something, especially since I have a headache, and said I was looking flushed and red, which now I can see now that I see myself. So he's taking the hydration bladders and he's going back up to the spring, which is 3 miles away, one way, in order to fill them all up and bring water back. I don't think it's a good idea. I think we could just drink out of the river through the straws, but I also kind of feel like it's my fault because we didn't stop at the spring and I thought there was going to be another one. So now I'm just waiting for him to come back. Sean came back. He didn't have to go all the way to the spring to get water. I guess there was already a little bit of a pond at Buckskin Canyon at the campsite there, and there were some people camping there that showed him where it is. So thank you to John campers at Buckhead for keeping that trip half as long as it needed to be. And Sean also came back with flowers. He's just the best ever. Good morning, day 4, 6 a.m. and we're already on the road. We have 10 more miles to go. We've heard that these last 10 are going to be some of the most difficult because we're now away from the water, no shade, open desert, and pretty much just going up and down, up and down, up and down. So this is what we have left to go.
Yes, hello. Good morning. How are you?
He doesn't want to make friends. So here is the muddy seep if you're really desperate for water at Wilson's Ranch. And this must be what used to be Wilson's Ranch. Look at that wilderness boundary. Where'd the lizard go? So I don't know if we did this wrong or took a wrong turn or there was no sign or this is just how it's supposed to be. But we came out at this farm over here and now we're on a road to get to the farm. The parking lot that's supposed to be at the end of the trail is over there, which is probably about another quarter mile. It's just kind of sucky after walking for so far. And this is it, the end. We made it to the parking lot, 38 miles. Woohoo!
Where's the car?
It's right there. Now that we're back home, I have a few thoughts on the trip that you just saw. If you're going to do the whole thing all the way through from White House to Lee's Ferry, I would recommend doing it in 5 days as opposed to 4. I really wish that we had done that. Doing 9 to 10 miles a day was pretty difficult for us, and I wish we had taken more time to just go slowly and explore some of the things in the surrounding areas, such as Judd Hollow's Pump or the petroglyphs that are in the second half of the canyon. So if you're going to do it all the way through, I definitely recommend 5 days as opposed to 4. Although, if I had to do it all over again, I actually would not do the entire hike all the way through. I would go in at White House, camp a little bit past the confluence, take a day trip up into Buckskin Gulch, because I really wish we had more time to explore that as well, and then take another day trip further down the river, and then on the last day go back out White House. I think that would be a much more enjoyable trip, just because a lot of the stuff up there is the canyons, the slot canyons, that's really what you're going to see. And also, the last 2 days, pretty much everything past mile 14, especially the last 10 miles of that hike, if you're going all the way through, there's really no shade. And we got very, very lucky in that we had overcast skies both days, and that the temperature was pretty much just in the high 70s, and it really wasn't that bad. If we didn't have those, that would have been very, very brutal. And in my opinion, there's really no reason to put yourself through that unless you're seeing something really spectacular and amazing. And those last 10 miles, while they were interesting and varied and beautiful, not worth being out in the desert in potentially 100-degree heat with the sun beating down on you. Just my opinion. So I hope that you found this video useful. If you're thinking about planning a trip, feel free to get in touch with any questions you might have, and I am happy to answer and help out in any way that I can.